Hello everybody, welcome back into the Color Gemstone Academy. I'm your instructor Paul Deasy, and this is my YouTube channel, Paul Deasy Gemstones. As always, if you do like these videos, I would ask that you subscribe. I know it says subscribe, but it's absolutely free. It just helps me climb up the charts and allow me to keep doing the videos for you. And also, if you want to share them, you can share them on your YouTube channel as well. Well, hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. This happens to be, as I'm taping this, the day after Thanksgiving. And I'm going to start with my Q&As, as I always like to, the questions and comments. So the first one will be from Martin W., who says, I am thrilled and inspired by all of this. Thanks. Also, I'm a bit lost. What comes after lesson 7? And it was really, really a great comment, Martin. I'm glad that you said that. Because when I started this probably about 6 months ago, I started with doing lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and then I started just doing lessons that were about sapphire, lessons about quartz, and various gemstones. So what I did is I went back, because I thought it was a really good suggestion, and I started to relabel everything as episode 1 through episode, I'm in the 30s right now. So if you were finished watching lesson 7 or 6, add one more to that, and that's what I did with the episodes. I hope that was clear. Probably wasn't. John Z says, thank you for your videos. Please ignore the stupid comment and keep making more. I think it was that was on the heels of somebody saying some comment about me, and I don't remember what it was. But fear not, John, I will continue to make these videos, and when you go to mines and you're in the gem business, you have to develop a very thick skin, so don't worry about me, I'll be just fine. Glenna, one of our viewers from our In the Kitchen with Paul and Judy and Sunday Fun Day with Paul and Judy on her Facebook page, says, love the lesson on sapphire and the history of famous gemstones, especially Judy's. And yes, Judy's sapphire is the most famous sapphire to me because that's the one that is her engagement ring. So that'll do it for my Q&A. So let's get started. Today's lesson is another one that is based on a customer or a viewer or subscriber request saying they wanted to know a little bit more about Sunstone. And I do love that gemstone. I don't have any samples with me, but I'll show you a lot of pictures of some of the Sunstone. But it's really a good lesson, and you may be wondering, why do I have the cowboy hat? Because I'm going to talk to you about how important it is to visit a mining location. And today's lesson will show you how you can do exactly that. But first, let's get through, as I say, some of the boring bits about the chemical composition and all that. So first of all, Sunstone is a plagioglace feldspar. And it's from the feldspar family of gems, and I wanted to tell you what some of the other feldspar gems are so that you might be a little bit more familiar with what we're talking about. So if you've ever heard of something called labradorite, one of my favorite gemstones, that is a feldspar. If you've heard of moonstone, that is an example of a feldspar. Andesine. There's also another gemstone called bitonite, and all of these are gems I've sold throughout the years, but this happens to be from a family called plagioglace feldspar. On the Mohs scale of hardness, it's not as hard as some others. It's about a 6 on the Mohs scale of hardness. That's fine. When I think about quartz is a 7, 6 is pretty good for pretty much everyday use. As far as toughness, now remember, the Mohs scale of hardness talks about its ability to withstand scratching, or specifically how can one gem scratch another gem. In the case of toughness, it is how does it resist cracking and chipping. And that's where you have your jades at exceptional, and this would be considered fair. So if you hit it in the right place, it could probably crack. So always treat all of your gems with care and respect, and that's a really good lesson for all of you. What is the chemical composition? It's either a calcium aluminum silicate or a potassium aluminum silicate. The crystal structure is triclinic, and the refractive index, now that relates to what is the sparkle of that gemstone. We talked about in the diamond lesson, 2.42 on the refractive index, and we talked about moissanite actually being even higher than that in the 2.5, 2.6 range. Well, the refractive index of your sunstone is 1.525 to 1.58, and specific gravity that deals with the heft of that gemstone. Some gems are naturally heavy or denser than others. This is kind of in that wheelhouse of gems that you're familiar with. It wouldn't be like a sapphire, which is a 4. It's 2.64 to 2.65. So it would be lighter if it were the same size as the sapphire. This would be a lighter stone. Now, I'll tell you most of the places in the world where this is found, but what we're really going to concentrate on today is one of the most important sources of it, which is right here in the United States of America. Australia, especially in the southern part of Australia, Canada, China, the Congo, India, Kenya, Mexico, southern Norway, Russia, and the United States. And in the United States, most notably, the state of Oregon. As a matter of fact, it is the official state gemstone of the state of Oregon, and it's one of the most important sources in all of the world. Okay, so sunstone can produce an optical phenomenon. Those of you that remember when I talked about phenomenal gemstones in an earlier episode, I'll put that in the notes when I edit this. But certain gems have optical phenomena, and sunstone is no exception to that rule. It has this bright metallic flashes, and this is caused when the light interacts with these tiny plate-like minerals that are inside the gemstone. And this is something just like you see with aventurine. It's called aventurescence. And when you have that type of sunstone, one that is heavily included with these platelets, remember those inclusions are a good thing in this case, they usually cut that in cabochon, the kind of the rounded dome, because that's the best way to show that aventurescence. And when you expose it to the light, sunlight, or any kind of light, you'll see this kind of schiller or this aventurescence effect in your sunstone. Now, a lot of you may not realize that sunstone can also be a beautiful, completely transparent gemstone that might look a little bit more like an orange sapphire or a ruby. But it can actually come in a variety of colors, and when you get the sunstone that looks like that, and you can see the variety of colors up there on your screen, that's generally cut in the traditional way with the facets like you would with an amethyst or a citrine or a sapphire or a ruby. Now, once again, if that sapphire happened to be a star sapphire, again, that's done in a cabochon. Faceting it would do nothing for that gemstone. Same thing with the sunstone. If you're going to have that aventurescence, you're going to probably want that in a cabochon. Okay, now, one of the things, before I get into the mining aspect of this, there is a controversy surrounding this stone, and not necessarily the sunstone as we know it, but there was a big deal of, I want to say probably between 10 and 12 years ago, with a gemstone called andesine, which is a feldspar, and this beautiful material started to show up on the market that was just this beautiful red, and it was being sold on Shopping Channel, one notably, which was JTV, Jory Television, and they were marketing that as something that was completely natural, that was coming from the Congo. Some of the material I think came from China as well, and that became a big controversy because as testing started to happen on this gemstone, and you can get really clean, clear material from Oregon, but not necessarily from Congo or China. What they were doing is a number of different elements that were proven. One was heat treating. They started to do some irradiation and also some surface diffusion where they would kind of force some copper into the stone to really brighten up the colors of that stone. Now, it was not necessarily, I don't think, the fault of JTV in that particular case, but as a gemologist or as a shopping channel, you really have to ask your chain that you're buying from to produce evidence of any treatments that have happened, and that might have saved them a lot in the long run. So I wanted you to be aware of that controversy that surrounded that during that time. Now, We're going to focus on something that I think is very important, which is why I have my cowboy hat on. It's why I have visited mines all over the place. And if you're going to visit a mine, most of these places, especially in Oregon, are going to be in the desert. And you're going to be exposed to a lot of sunlight. And if you have fair skin like I do, you want to bring plenty of sunblock. You want to have the hat. I usually have long sleeves. I wear long pants even in the summer, so I don't burn to a crisp. But it's recognized in the world as one of the most important sources for sunstone in the world, and that's in Oregon. Now, Judy and I visited another mine in southern Oregon. That had to be 10, 12, 15 years ago, probably 15. And it was the Bonanza black opal mines in that area. So that area of the state is actually rich with a lot of different gemstones. Now, when we think of sunstone, it's really something that is from lava, something from explosions of lava. And that's usually where you find a lot of gemstones of many different types. Okay, now again, the focus today is going to be on Oregon and how you might be able to actually mine for sunstone yourself. And there's a couple of different ways to do that. First of all, there are several commercial mining operations. These are companies that have staked a claim with the Bureau of Land Management, and you can't go on their land and mine anything because you'll get fined or arrested or worse. However, there is what they call a free sunstone collection area in Oregon, in and among where these mines are located. And it is set aside by the Bureau of Land Management, so you can go out there and look for stuff. And I know that people might think, well, wait a minute, how does that even work? Or how can I know what I'm doing, and how can I find something? Many places that we have, Judy and I visited over the years, like when we were in Nevada looking at a lot of turquoise mines, there were areas where you're just walking along the ground, you might see some quartz. You might see some Apache tears, as they call them, which is that naturally occurring volcanic glass, that black volcanic glass. So the same thing is going to happen in this area. It's not going to like jump out and bite you, but you can dig around and you might find some sunstone because it's going to be very prominent in that area. Now, will it be really great gem material? Maybe you'll get lucky, maybe not. But another option that you might want to investigate is some of those commercial mining companies found another stream of revenue by having a mining adventure. I know they did this in Tonopah, Nevada with the Royston turquoise mine, and the Otteson family that has a jewelry store there. They would take you out for a fee, and you could dig around in the dirt and try and find some turquoise. Well, the same thing happens out here in Oregon. So you can go to one of these places. There's a number of different mines out there that do this. And you might either pay a fee of like $200, $100 or $200 a person, where they set up, you'll see this piles of dirt, of earth called tailings. And it happens in every mining operation. They're digging out a hole and they're going after this material. But invariably there's material in those piles that they call tailings. And so what they do is they set up a conveyor belt, and then they dump some of the tailings on there, and it goes by you, and you can try and pick and see if you can find some gemstones in there. Now, if you're a little bit more budget conscious, they might say, okay, no, the conveyor belt costs that much, but if you just want to go and dig in the tailings without it going on a conveyor belt to you, they might charge you $50 to do that, or I don't really know what the costs are going to be, but there'll be a kind of a different scale for that. So the most important thing, the reason I wanted to bring this up, very few people ever get the opportunity to actually visit a working mine and see what goes in to the mining operation. And I've said this 1,000 times if I've said it once in my 30-year career of doing gemstones. I have learned much more every time that I visit a mine. I don't care what the gemstone is, where on earth it's located. I learn more about that gemstone by being there in the mining process than any classes that I've ever taken with the Gemological Institute of America. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the GIA. It is the world's foremost authority on gemstones. I'm an accredited jewelry professional with them. But you will learn so much more by being in and among the miners that do this. And it can be a great adventure for you, and it really doesn't cost a lot. One cautionary tale: most of these mines are in very, very remote locations. You'll see when I show you the signs in the mines and wherever they are, it's nothing but desert and dirt roads or sand roads. And if you're going to try and stay close to there or camp close to there, there's not going to be any restaurants, there's not going to be any running water. So get ready for a pretty down and dirty adventure. Well, that's going to do it for this particular lesson on a very beautiful gemstone you can find in the United States called Sunstone. Remember, if you enjoy this lesson, please hit the subscribe button. It is absolutely free. It helps me out. And also, if you want to share this with your friends, you can do that as well. Don't forget, we do this every single Saturday morning at 10 a.m. is when the next video comes out. And I'm taking your requests for more videos you'd like to learn about. So I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for watching.